I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Um, just a couple of small rules. Please keep your microphones switched off during presentation. If you have questions, there will be a question and answer at the end of the presentation. So please write down, take note of the questions you want to ask, and we can do that at the end. This will help me to keep the stream of the presentation smoother, and we can keep it within the given time and do not stretch it too long. I'll wait another couple of minutes to make sure that everybody gets in. We're still missing some people from the registration page. So I'll switch off the microphone for another couple of minutes. I'll talk to you soon. Hello, here we are. I hope you can hear me clear because I got some complaint from some colleagues that my voice is a little bit metallic. I wish at least it's understandable what I say. Okay, so I think we can start. Welcome. This presentation is going to be about Deva Multimedia Unit. We're going to have a very short one-page presentation of the company for those of you who don't know PowerSoft, and then we're going to get right into the unit. So as I was saying, PowerSoft, it was founded in 1995, and it's known worldwide for its audio products, in particular amplifiers. The truth is that PowerSoft, it's a company that always been looking at new technologies and investing in research. And the product we're going to see now is the result of this investments and of this continuous research of new products. So we're going to go through the models and the specs of the different units. And this is Deva. Deva, it's a multimedia unit with a speaker, obviously, an LED illuminator, an HD camera, and an infrared sensor on board. All of this is controlled by an internal computer that is able to handle music programming, to handle several kinds of alarms and different kinds of connectivities. The Deva audio, it's exactly the same unit with the same intelligence on board, but just without the camera and the illuminator. The Deva passive is only a speaker used to double the audio capacity of the Deva. So it's brainless. There is no intelligence inside the unit. Oops, sorry. Okay. So it's important to say that the Deva, it's fully portable, so you can install it in a fixed location, but it's equipped with an internal battery, and it can also be used for temporary installations. And it runs on its own battery or with the help of a solar panel that can be connected directly to the unit. When I say that you can use a solar panel, it means that all the intelligence to handle the solar panel is inside the Deva. So all you have to do is physically connect the cable coming from the solar panel to the Deva, and all the electronics to handle that, it's already inside the Deva. So as I was saying, as Deva comes to you in a box, as you take it out, it's ready to work. It already has its infrared sensor that can be used to trigger the Deva to do different things. For example, you can turn on the LED light, you can play a recorded message as a response to the infrared sensor being triggered. You can trigger internal alarm and warnings so to inform security personnel. And if you're using a Deva HD, so with video, you can actually capture the video stream or a picture from that video stream for further analysis after. What's the limitation here? The limitation is that the infrared sensor is not a smart sensor. It's not very intelligent. So it's very hard to determine if the person, the object that's passing in front of your sensor, it's a human being, or it's an animal, or it's a vehicle. You don't know that. So it will just trigger the unit, whatever it is. Obviously, you can adjust the sensitivity of the sensor, but it will be hard for the sensor to differentiate between a big dog or a kid, for example. So the next step to be able to use Deva for security and safety is to use video analysis. Before we go into the video analysis, just one word on the OMVIF compliance of Deva. Deva is compatible with OMVIF protocols. So the big advantage is that you can insert the Deva in an existing network with other brands of cameras and other sensors, and you can just integrate easily into your network because it's compatible with the OMVIF protocol. Some examples of what you can do with the Deva. Apart from, I gave for granted a part, and I think it's fair that I go back a second and spend a couple of words on that. As you see Deva like this, it's already much more than a, and it's capable of scheduling events. For example, you can tell the Deva to play music during the day and to act as a surveillance camera at night. You can tell the Deva to play music at a certain volume in a certain moment of time and then change that volume for another period of the day. So you can fully control the Deva, and you can do that by programming it. So you program it and you let it do his job on his own, or even just connecting to the unit and modifying the setup and the things you want it to do. So apart from that, with the camera on board, you can do video analysis. A typical example of video analysis is area monitoring. The example you see here, there is a square, and the next slide you will see a real life example of that. There's a parking lot. You can tell the Deva that in that specific parking lot, for example, you don't want people to stand next to the cars longer than a certain period of time. Once you have done that, if Deva sees a person there for more than the time that you have set, he will trigger an alarm. Up to here, everything is normal. What Deva does more than what you normally find in the market is that not only it triggers an alarm, but it sends an SMS to the security personnel. It plays a message to the person that's standing in front of the unit, telling him that he's not supposed to be there. And at the same time, the security personnel will know there is a problem, can look at the cameras, see if the problem has been solved automatically by the Deva, or decide that he wants to go there and make sure everything is okay. I will show you the next slide because it clearly explains what I mean. I will play a video now, and I hope you can see it. Oops. Sorry, it's very loud. Let me try to, okay. Sorry. So you see there is a man approaching the statue here. And as soon as he walks towards the statue, he's seen as a threat to the statue itself. As soon as the statues, okay, so what did we see? This is one of the main squares of Florence. For those of you who have been lucky enough to visit it, might recognize it. It's Piazza della Signoria. It's the heart of the city. And the big problem we have here is that tourists climb on monuments and touch monuments. And so the city wanted to keep an eye on what was going on and, you know, prevent this kind of things. What we did, we drew a virtual fence around the monument. And as you can see, there are people standing, there are people standing here, but there is no alarm. The system knows that they're not approaching the unit, they're just standing there. Instead, when the gentleman that we saw before started walking directly towards the statue, let me see if I get the exact point. Here it is. The unit is in pre-alarm state. He's saying, hey, this gentleman is going directly towards the statue. As soon as he touches it, the alarm is set off, the message is sent to the security personnel, and the Deva plays the message automatically. What is the big advantage? The big advantage is that the personnel did not have to go there. As you can see, the person left immediately. As soon as the message was played, the person left the area because everybody, you see this gentleman? He was looking at him. So he felt uncomfortable and left the area. This is a typical application of area control applied to surveillance of a specific area. Whoops, sorry. Another typical application is the people count. This again is the exhibition center in Florence, where we have our exhibition center is inside a medieval castle. There is an entrance here, and the problem they have is that the castle is huge, but the exhibition center is part of that castle. So they never know how many people get in And of that people that get in, how many go to the exhibition center, how many are just wandering around the area. So by counting them at the entrance, they're able to determine the real flow towards the exhibition area and the real flow towards the castle as a monument. Obviously, the unit is able to count people getting in and people getting out. And at the end of the day, you can do your statistics and evaluation of the movements inside the area. Facial recognition, it's a very delicate point because it works very well, but every country has its own national regulations for this. I'll just quickly explain how it works. Obviously, it's based on both a blacklist and a whitelist. A whitelist is a list of authorized persons. A blacklist is a list of unwanted persons. As soon as someone, let's assume you're using a whitelist, as soon as someone that's walking in is not recognized in the whitelist, a message will be played and the person will be invited to stop there and wait for verification. The blacklist works just the opposite. So if you are on the blacklist, you will be pointed by the system and a message will be played to stop you. Abandoned object control, same concept. The cool thing about this system is that it's capable and it determines how long the object has been abandoned for. And you can set and you can tell the system how long you want to wait before you consider an object as abandoned. It happens very often that someone leaves a bag, takes 3 steps, and then realizes, oh, I forgot my bag, and he goes back to pick it up. If you don't set a time, you would have alarms all the time. Instead, with this system, you can actually determine how long you have to wait before it can be considered an abandoned object. Again, the good part is the part that the Deva can do on his own, the part that the Deva can do automatically and interact with the person to inform that there is an abandoned object. Please, if it's yours, pick it up, or whatever message you want to play. All of these situations, I'm speaking about the Deva doing things automatically. Obviously, if there is a person controlling the streams through the Deva, you can actually speak to the person and send a dedicated message to him live, speaking to the person saying, sir, please stop doing that, or sir, please take your bag and don't leave it there. You're not allowed to do so. Now we go to some of the features that are more COVID related. One of these obviously is queue control. Here in Europe and in Italy in particular, we have a specific request of standing in line outside the supermarkets to guarantee that the number of people inside the supermarket doesn't exceed a certain number. With Deva, you can frame the entrance of the supermarket and determine what's the maximum number of people that you want and that you allow to be in that specific area. So I'll just make an example here. Let's say that here, in this area here, you know that if they're keeping 1 meter from another, like they say we should, you could have, let's say, 5 people. If the Deva sees more than 5 people in that area, it will trigger a message reminding the people to keep the distance. At the same time, obviously, it will inform the security personnel, and the security personnel can decide if they want to play a dedicated message, so speak on the microphone to those people, or if it's even worth to send someone there. So the big advantage is that you are reducing the number of times that your personnel is exposed to the risk of going into the public, and you're doing most of that job automatically. So the security personnel, all they have to do is look at the camera, see that the message is played, see if the people react to it, and then take the next step in cases needed. We have several levels of people control. This is just a more accurate calculation of how people behave. Not only you can count the people in the area that you selected, but you can also track how they're moving in that area. So for example, if they have to keep in a line, let's say on one side, and you see someone coming in, and you can actually see if he's cutting the line, if he's not respecting the line, or if he's wandering around like he should not. Obviously, this kind of application requires a little bit more of computer capacity, but it's still available for the Deva. Okay, social distancing, the big word that's used by everybody now. Deva has a function that allows you to control social distancing. I hope you can see the video that's playing now. As you can see, people are identified and the distance is calculated. As soon as they got close, obviously these are very famous actors. This is me, actually. Very famous actors. As soon as we get too close, you see that you get a red line on top. Let me see if I can show you with this. This red line is indicating that these people are less than 1 meter away. What does this do? This generates an alarm, and you will see that the people here at a certain point and look at the Deva that's playing the message. At the same time, the security personnel receives a message from the Deva on his phone, and he goes out to check what's going on. And you will see that he has a very Italian reaction now. Hey, what are you doing? Keep apart. Instructing the people to stay apart, and the job is done. So again, Deva will play a message, but if it's not enough, it will at the same time inform the personnel that he should take action because there is a problem outside or where the Deva is. Oops, sorry. SOS Point is another application which I think it's very useful. Deva is equipped with SIP protocol. It can be equipped with SIP protocol. This means that you can see a Deva as a phone in your SIP network. So you can actually call the Deva with the internal phone number. What is the big advantage? The big advantage is that you can play messages through the Deva no matter where you are in the country. So if you get a message on your phone that there is a problem with the Deva or in front of a Deva, you can look at the video from your phone and you can actually dial the number of that Deva and play a message, do a public announcement message live from your phone. But the interesting thing is this works both directions. So even the people that are standing in front of the Deva, if there is a phone kit, they can pick up the receiver and speak to someone asking for help, asking for support, or describing the kind of issue that they're facing in that particular moment. This is an application we developed for lifeguards, but it can be applied into many. I'm thinking about public parks and places where you might need the ability to inform someone that you're having a problem this could be a perfect solution. And at the same time, as I said, when you call, you can always look at the video and see the person you're speaking to, see what's going on. This is just a simple application. Deva can do parking control and speed control of the cars in a parking lot. So in this case, what it's doing, it's controlling how long the cars are staying in the parking spot. This might be interesting, for example, for supermarkets to make sure that the people parked in their parking lot are really clients and not just people that are taking advantage of the parking lot. So, for example, you determine that the typical client stays there for an hour and a half, and if a car is there for more time, you can then verify why and make sure it's supposed to be there. At the same time, obviously, you can read a license plate, and you could do a control on reserved parking lot for them. So, obviously, with the aid of external cameras or units, we can also do body temperature detection. The Deva itself does not have a thermal camera on board, but since Deva is able to accept triggers from external sensors, it can accept the trigger from an external camera, a thermal probe, or a thermal tablet like we see now on the market, and use that information to inform security and do their job. Like, for example, we have an installation for one of our clients with a thermal camera and a Deva, where the Deva speaks to the person. If there is a problem with his temperature, it will say, "Sir, please, this entrance is temporarily closed. Please wait for security to restore the entrance." And then at that point, the security goes directly to the person with the temperature because they know who he is, and take him aside without making a big fuss. The big problem with thermal cameras at the moment is, again, privacy. You don't want the camera to ring a bell or trigger an audible alarm in front of other people. People might feel very uncomfortable if that happens. Through Deva, you can actually play a generic message saying, "Sorry, this entrance is temporarily closed. Wait for security before you get in." And in case he still gets in, you have the video to see who he is, and you can find him and make sure he leaves the area. So, I think we will just go through the whole presentation and then we do the question and answer, because I'm sure you have questions. This is an example of the typical Deva interface. You can see here there are different groups. This is the screenshot of our installation at our company. In the different buildings, we have groups of Devas doing different jobs, and you can control them all from the same control center. So you see the status of the unit, if it's Ethernet connected or if it's Wi-Fi connected. You can see if it's taking pictures or taking video, and what kind of playlist it's playing at this particular moment. And you can interact and modify these parameters. And you can also tell the unit to do a surveillance, and you can set up the surveillance, how you want to do it, and everything. Deva actually not only is able to play your uploaded playlist, but you can actually play FM radio or web radio. So you could have, for example, a Deva that's playing a web radio during the day and still doing his surveillance work. So he can do the two jobs simultaneously. Okay. So how you set up your network, It's pretty simple. There are several options. The basic option is that you have your own server with the PDD software on board. Through that and through Ethernet, Wi-Fi, or 3G, you control your Devas that can be divided into separate groups, in Zone A, Zone B, Zone C. Obviously, you can control the whole system, one zone, or even a single unit remotely. Other options are full integration of the Deva software into an existing third-party control center. And that's an opportunity for clients that already have a network set up and they just want to integrate with Deva. Or you can actually have the the control software on the cloud, so that you don't have physically the server in your premises and you do everything through internet, having the PDD server in the cloud. Some examples of an installation to give you an idea, because seeing is better than everything. So in this case, it's a small supermarket. They want to control the entrance, make sure the people stand in line, and then they have a loading area on the side that they want to make sure that they have no access from unauthorized people. So what you do, you have your server, you have your PoE switch, because Deva can be powered by, as I said, by mains, by solar panel, or by PoE. So here you have your PoE injector. Here you have your router with Wi-Fi to control Devas through Wi-Fi if you have any. And in this case, you have two Devas at the entrance. One is doing the video analysis, controlling that the people are standing in line. One is just controlling the entrance as an air, just to have an image of the whole scene. And then they have a Deva HD connected by Wi-Fi that will take a photo and trigger an alarm if someone goes within, inside the loading area, outside of work times. So it's a very simple layout. And as you can see, you can have a mixture of connections. You can have cable connection, Wi-Fi connection, and in cases where you don't have cable or Wi-Fi, you can also use 3G or 4G SIM cards. Obviously, there the limitation is the cost of the contract for the data transmission. It's not the technology. This is an example that we just made for a client that wants to put Deva at the entrance of his boutique hotel. This is a hotel not far from our premises. As you can see, they will have a tablet with a thermal camera at the entrance and a Deva to control the entrance and make sure that there are no people standing for too long in front of the entrance and playing music during the day and messages if needed. This is just another example of installation in a parking lot. So you have three groups. You have the group A, where you're controlling the parking spaces, the vertical parking spaces. You have the group B, I'm sorry, here there is a wrong letter, where you're controlling the reserved parking lots. And then you have the group C, where you're controlling the entrance and the line of people standing outside of this activity here, of this shop. Again, you have your computer, your PoE switch, and your router. And that's all you need to control the whole network. Keep in mind that with one PDD, you can control over 100 units. So we have clients handling 150 units with one PDD. Some examples of installations. This is an installation in Bergamo city in Italy. Bergamo, it's unfortunately here in Italy is now very famous because it's the city that had the biggest coronavirus outbreak in Italy, the highest number of cases. And they already had devas all over the historical part of town, and they used it before the COVID outbreak. They used it to play music, retailers' messages, some informations about events going on in town. You know, it was very entertainment oriented installation. When the COVID outbreak hit the city, what they did, they changed the programming of the system, and they started reminding people to stay home, telling them that they needed to prepare the documents if they were stopped. You know, it became a public service to the city, and that happened overnight. It took them literally no more than a couple of hours to change all the setup of the system, change the scheduling, and use it for an emergency. So Resina is a very similar situation. So Resina 2 had it's a smaller installation. It's only 10 audio and 10 passive, but they use them mainly for entertainment. And in the last 2 months, they've been using them to inform the population on how to behave and what they should do during this period. Central Station in Rome, I always like to speak about this because it's a very small installation, but very significant. This is only 2 units. This is a part of the train station in Rome where it closes at night. And they had problem with homeless people sleeping there, and problem with people to go to the trains during the night. And they were not supposed to do that. By putting the Deva, playing the message saying, sorry, this area is closed, you're being recorded, we have informed the security of your presence. They went from 100 cases every night to 0 in less than 24 hours. Time to install it, and the problem was solved. So I think it's very significant on how efficient the Deva can be in handling automatically situations like this. And of course, Cincinnati Zoo, it's one of the biggest installations in North America at the moment. They're using 150 units, mainly audio, for recorded audio messages, playback, background music. And with the video units they have at the entrance, they do video monitoring and recording. And also with the video units in the delicate parts of the park where they don't want people to go, they can do that. Obviously, they have a very beautiful Christmas light event, and they use Deva for that too. And in Cincinnati Zoo, all the Devas are Wi-Fi. There is no cable Deva. This was a requirement from the client because they had problems with, they have a lot of trees and they had critters eating all the cables. So they wanted to get rid of the cables. They didn't want the cables, and they were able to solve that problem using Devas, which obviously can be used in Wi-Fi. Okay, I tried to keep it as fast as possible, trying to give you all the information, but not going over the time that we have. So it's time for some questions and answers. I have a question here. Jerry is asking me, will this presentation be available online? Yes, I can give you a copy of the presentation, or if you have specific information that you want, please write to me. You will see here it is by email, or write to Ericsson Audio if you need more commercial information. And I'm sure that Tim Marshall will be happy to supply all the information you need. if it's technical information and Tim doesn't have it, he will ask it to me, or you can write to me directly, and I'll be happy to ask. Any other question you have? Let me see. Warren. Yes, Warren is asking if there is the ability to use the area monitor with a scheduler. Absolutely. That's the main goal of Deva. And Deva can work as an audio entertainment unit for part of the day and become a surveillance camera in another part of the day. It's up to you to schedule how you want the unit to act. Or you can have a combination of the two. Don't forget, Warren, that you could have the Deva playing music, but at the same time keeping an eye and keeping his security features activated so that he can still see if something is wrong. Alex, do you have a list of devices that work with Deva? It's a little simpler than that, Alex. As far as the devices that you are willing to use are capable of having a digital signal coming out of that unit, so an on-off signal, then we can integrate easily into them. For others, I'm not saying you cannot. It might need some integration, so a little bit of work. But if it's a digital signal coming out, it's immediate. We can handle that very easily. How easy, Warren is asking, how easy is to define an area on an area monitor? Okay, this is a very, thank you for the question. I think it's a very smart question. Technically, it's very simple. You actually draw it with your mouse on the image. You have the image on your screen, and with your mouse, you draw the area that you want to control. And the truth, Warren, is that in some cases, it will take a couple of, sometimes to determine the exact shape and the better shape to get the result you're trying to achieve with that function. So I'll make an example. You've seen the video in front of our company where the people were gathering. The first time we drew the area, maybe it was a little bit too low, so we were missing some of the readings. Then we adjusted it after a couple of hours, and now it's, so, you might have to work a little bit with it, but technically it's just physically drawing the area you want to control on a screen. Okay, Kiernan is asking a question about the IP network ban. Please write to me an email. That's a very technical question. I would love to give you the answer, but I prefer to put it down in writing, so I give you a good idea of what it's needed and how the network should be structured. Obviously, this I say to everybody, when you're using video, and if you are thinking of using video stream, Wi-Fi normally is not the best solution. PoE, Ethernet is the best solution. If you're only grabbing a picture of an event, then Wi-Fi would be fine. But if you're actually streaming, I would suggest you use PoE. Is it possible, though, to use Wi-Fi? Yes, it is. But the Wi-Fi network you have to put up has to be very consistent. And that sometimes can be more expensive than the Deva itself. So it's something that you have to evaluate very carefully when you're doing this kind of evaluation, and especially proposal to your final client. Okay. Okay, Dan is asking, I think you may have covered this already. Is it possible to use one Deva for monitoring multiple uses? Yes, yes, you can. You can, with the limitation of how many things you want to control at the same time. And the limitation is not on the Deva itself, it's on the CPU that's doing the analysis. So you can have 2 or 3 analysis depending on what they are. Maybe they're simple, so you can do 2 or 3 from the same stream. If you have more, you can still do it, but you might have to consider using a CPU with a little more capacity than the one that's normally used for the DD of the demo. So yes, you can. Sue is asking if you can invite prospects to presentations. Okay, next week you will find on our website on the page on webinars all the new webinars that are coming up for Deva. They will be starting on the week of the 8th, if I'm correct. But yes, we will have a new set, and it will last. I think it's once every 2 weeks. You will have a week that's on Deva. So you will be able to invite prospects to those. Alex McIntyre is asking if there is a Zoom feature. No, not an optical zoom, and not even a virtual zoom on the camera itself. There is a little bit of zooming capacity on some of the applications, data analysis software. Okay, keep in mind that the way that this has to be thought is, I'm speaking to Alex again. I finished to read this. I answered before I finished reading this. And I partially missed something. He's saying in applications like license plate or recognizing faces. Recognizing faces has a pixel limitation, and the same applies to the number plate recognition. So the limit is the camera itself. It's not zoomed that much. When recognizing faces, you have to be roughly around 10 meters. It's the maximum distance you can do to recognize a face with the acceptable percentage of accuracy. When you're doing license plate, it's a little more. I think it's around 20. But if you are interested in the exact numbers, again, write to us, and I'll be happy to supply you some data sheets and this kind of information. Okay, some other questions. Yes. Adil is asking a question, and he's saying, I saw these units are stand and wall mountable. Are they available in different colors? They are. And even more than that, we can even do water painting on it. We have a couple of installations in cities in North America, and they install the units in the trees along the main street of the city. And obviously they didn't want the white bowl to stick out, so they did a camouflage water paint to them. The city of Bergamo that you saw before actually painted it. Since it's a World Heritage site, you couldn't put the white Devas, so they did paint in the colors of the wall that they were being installed on. So each different building had a different color with the Deva matching to the wall painting. John, it's a standard HD camera. That's 1000. What is it? I don't remember. I'm sorry. That's I have to look at the data sheet. I don't remember the exact number. It's a standard HD camera. It's not 4K. Okay, I see no more questions. Oh no, yeah. Can you use a combination of Ethernet, Wi-Fi, or even 4G units in the same zone or network? Absolutely. Yes, Tim, you can. You can select whatever you want as connection system, and you could have a zone which is cabled, a zone which is Wi-Fi, and a zone which is a mixture of cabled Wi-Fi and 4G, as you like. What you have available between Ethernet, Wi-Fi, and 4G can be used to connect the unit to the central station. Do you have an application where those have been used in temporary install? Yes. Warren is asking me if we have clients using it temporary install. One of our biggest clients is from Switzerland, and he does events. He uses Devas to set up. Well, his core business is fiber layout for temporary events. So together with the fiber, he offers the Deva. So what he does, he goes to the site, lays the fiber, connects the Devas, does the event 1 day, 3 days, then takes everything down and brings it back home. He has 130 Devas at the moment. He's buying more, and he does events like he does a hip hop festival with more than 50,000 people, and he actually uses the Devas to control the restaurant area, making sure there are no problems in that area, and the entrance to the tent area. Obviously, 50,000 people, all the people sleep in tents and stuff, and he controls that with the Deva. And he does also a yodel festival, which I hope I will be able to go and see because I love to see that. But yes, you can use it in temporary installation very easily. I'm sure there will be some. I will speak with Tim when this meeting is over, and I'm sure there will be some available units for you to see. Thank you, Tiernan. Thank you very much. It's 1920 by 1050. Thank you. Can the units be set up in the warehouse? Yes. Again, I'm answering to Tiernan again. Again, I go to the Swiss client we have because I think he did a good job. What he did, he developed internally crates, big crates, and they have, he puts 6 Devas in each crate. Then you connect the Ethernet. When you are at the company, the units stay in the crate because he connects the PoE Ethernet cable and keeps the units charged and ready to go. Whenever he gets an order, he prepares from his computer the units with the music, with the scheduling that he wants to do for that specific event and everything. Then he tells his drivers which crates they have to pick. They pick the crates and go directly to the event. When they come back, they connect it again and he resets the units. So yes, you can program before you send the units out. So the person that goes to the event doesn't have to be the engineer that's programming, can be an electrician that just puts it up, and that's it. John is asking if is there plan to use 5G. It's incredible, but we get calls from 5G providers almost every day asking us to give them our units to use 5G. Because the problem with 5G is that there is network, there are no tools to run on 5G. And the reality is that what we already did our research, what we're waiting is for 5G modems that with the price that's acceptable for a unit like that. The price that the 5G modems routers have now make no sense. So yes, obviously we're keeping an eye on it. It's something that we have in our drawer, but at the moment I can't find the key because my management won't let me open the drawer. So as soon as we will have a clearer idea of how the 5G is gonna develop and the products are gonna be available in a larger number, we're certainly gonna take that into consideration. I'm afraid it's gonna take some time, but we obviously keep an eye on it. Yeah. Yes, Fabrizio, that's correct. We actually used it in Canada too. We did Montréal en Histoire, which was a temporary event. We had Deva there. Adil, yes, yes. That's an application that I think it would be very interesting for casinos. I'm sure we can work something out for that, and I'll speak to Tim to make sure we get your contacts. And oh, they're still there. Oh, good. Thank you, Fabrizio. I'll speak to Tim, and we will send you something regarding the casino application. Okay. I don't see any other questions. If I forgot someone, please bear with me. Oh, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. I hope you enjoyed and you found it interesting. If you have any specific question, again, my email is there. Ericsson Audio has all the information and it's willing to give you support. If they need my support, they know where to get me. So we are at your disposal for any other information you might need. Thank you all, yeah, and stay safe. Thank you very much.